Mr. Kyle, nice to meet you, brother.
You as well.
Likewise. Where are you from, by the way?
I grew up in North Carolina, but I've lived in several different states, Florida, North Carolina, went to college at South Carolina, lived in LA for about 4 years pursuing acting.
Yeah, nice one.
A little bit of everywhere.
Yeah. And how long have you been in like Bangkok for, like off and on? Like when was the first time you came out here?
My first trip to Thailand and to Bangkok was back in 2016, I believe, late 2016. And I went again back in 2017. And then I came back last year. I spent about 5 weeks in Koh Samui. That was like last year, 2023, late 2023, early 2024. And, you know, I was in Bangkok for a few weeks briefly, just getting suits, tailored suits, because those are epic here, you know?
Yeah.
Getting the epic tailored fit suits.
Yeah, this is a fire experience.
So, I've been here a few times. I've been to a few Asian countries as well along the way, working and then transferring that over into a little bit of traveling while I'm out here.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so I mean, guys, I'm a remote closer, and you're like an actor. So, I mean, I was watching his stories the other day and it looked pretty sick. It was like a whole movie set. So it's like quite contrary in like what we do. So like kind of explain to them like what you actually do, how you got into it, maybe a quick brief story.
Well, I have been pursuing acting and stuntman work in the Hollywood market, you know, the United States film market for about almost 11 years. And I kind of started off with working at Disney World and actually just being straight up unemployed. I struggled with finding proper employment jobs. I was really just always had that freelance idea, and I couldn't really be controlled by bosses. And I really hated, you know, going to work for someone else and making them all the money and not reaping much of the benefits. And yeah, just started doing freelance work, and that led into Disney World. I did a stunt show way back in the day. It was because I had a background in motorcycles, riding sport bikes. So I did a show for Disney World called Lights, Motors, Action. And then I just transferred that into being a broke actor out in LA.
Yeah. And how was that? Like being a broke actor in LA, like what's that even entail?
That entails it's a very struggle. Like I literally went out to LA with no money, found a sublease to rent with other roommates. And I ended up I was in the adult industry for a brief amount of time. I made some money there. I'll tell more stories about how that was in terms of making money and then transferring out of that. But I struggled. I did Postmates, delivering food. I did Instacart, basically just, you know, those types of freelance type jobs. And I also did security and bouncer bodyguard work at some of the nightclubs there as well.
Cool. And going out to LA, you said you had no money?
I had like $1,500 in credit cards, obviously. Yeah. I mean, you always have credit cards, you know, the American 100%. Credit system. If you take advantage of that, you can easily get credit and just live off credit cards for a while before that starts to screw you up.
Okay.
But I racked up a lot of debt on credit cards, and then I had very, very little income coming in. I had a little bit of cash, not much.
What was that initial goal for you when you first went out to LA?
Well, I didn't really have many goals per se. I was still just living, you know, the free type of lifestyle. I had a connection out there that were interested in me from an agent in the adult film industry to go out there and do some shoots. Like I had some shoots lined up, and I had the connection in Florida that they vouched for me. So I decided to pack up everything and fly out there, and they had a place to stay for me. And again, shoots lined up for about a month or two that I thought I could have the confidence to actually move out there and see where that takes me pretty much. So.
Gotcha. And how old were you at the time?
It was late 20s, brother. I was probably like 28, 29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. And like, how did that transition from like working in LA to like coming out here to Bangkok? Like what's like in between there?
In between there, I left LA in 2019 and I moved to Miami. I was just planning on doing it for the summer. And then I ended up just really liking Miami. I got into the nightclub business, doing balancing club promotions. And of course, then the pandemic happened. So there's no reason to move back to LA and you know, not work and just watch all the zombies on the street. So I ended up just bouncing around after LA. I left LA in 2019. Miami, I stayed there, and then I bounced around between Atlanta and Miami for a few years before I came out here.
I got you. And like, did you ever like try to pursue anything like online, like day trading, remote sales, or anything like that, or just like you wanted to stick with like acting?
I've tried everything to make money online. I traded options, crypto. I've tried to do drop shipping, like Shopify type courses, and I paid for mentorships, and they just didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are scams, to be honest.
Bit of rough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of like just sticking with acting, like what do you think the main benefits are? Maybe someone's watching this and they want to get into acting. Like, what would you say is like the best part for you?
The best part for me?
Yeah, or your favorite part?
The favorite part, I just love being on set. And I love inspiring people.
I got you.
You know, using my health, fitness, my martial arts skills to do the stunts. I do acting and stunts, action acting. I've done 5 commercials since I've been out here. I've been on a few TV shows that you would know about that are on Netflix from the Hollywood film market that I filmed in either Atlanta or LA.
And what's like the craziest stunt you've ever done?
Crashing motorcycles, falling off horses are probably a few of the craziest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty top tier. So I mean, coming out here to Bangkok, like what would you say the contrary, like the benefits and cons of like living out here in Bangkok compared to like Miami or like LA?
The benefits out here is obviously it's a lot cheaper to live. You can get more for your money. The US dollar obviously is better, and it's just overall less expensive. I feel a little surge of energy from being here. I don't know if it's the water, like, the food, the water. I think the food is probably a lot healthier, a little bit better to the overall health, obviously. And then being a single man, dating is completely destroyed in the Western, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's really hard, especially living in Miami. I've seen the worst of women being in nightclubs and just the party scene on the beach. And just overall being a single man, I think it's probably better for me in Bangkok right now. Not to mention there is a different casting process that they do here. In the US, they do self-tapes, which you don't know if you're even being looked at. They scrub through your tapes. And here they're actually in-person auditions. So I actually see my face. They can feel my aura. And I book jobs just based on that, I think.
Oh, fair enough.
And being a white guy doesn't hurt because they need roles for white people as well because they film stuff here for Europe, Middle East, some Hollywood stuff as well.
Yeah,
but they need the white American accent, the white look as well.
Yeah, so there's a big demand out there for that.
I'm the DEI actor of Bangkok. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, before like 29, before you even went to LA, like what were you doing like the first 9 years of your 20s?
Out of college, I got I don't know if the economy was crashed. It was back in 2008, 2009. There was a bank crash. I did have a job in the automotive industry. I worked myself up from a sales associate and service manager to running a high volume store in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was called Firestone Complete Auto Care. So I was basically a manager of that. And I actually made very good money. I made over 6 figures by the time I was like 23 years old. And then that lasted about 1.5 years. And then I got fired like that. So,
what happened that even made you get fired? Was it just like, you're done? Or like what happened?
It was a lot of stuff leading up to it. I was actually doing really good in numbers, but I was a young manager in charge of about 15 people. And I had no management experience like that to that level of the store, doing millions of dollars a year and responsible for equipment and stuff like that. And I just had him really I'll take first of all, I'll take full responsibility. I don't know if you've read the book, Extreme Ownership. But as a man, I just believe you should take full ownership of everything that happens to you. So I will do that. But basically a vehicle caught on fire. One of my mechanics were working on a car and it caught on fire. And I put the fire out. I thought about the situation and I went over it with the mechanic and my better mechanic, and he said it could be fixed. So my choices were to tell my boss and have a claim, which I was already in hot water with my boss because we just didn't get along. And I decided to not tell my boss and try to fix it. And then a few days later, the customer was actually out of town, so I knew I had a little bit of time to fix the problem. But a few days later, the car still was not fixed, and the customer showed up at the shop and found out his car got caught on fire. And why didn't you tell me? So
yeah,
next day, I go into my boss's, get called into my district manager's office, and that was it.
Yeah, so I mean, the car went up in flames. You lost your job. Then what kind of happened after that? Like, what did you even have to do for work after?
Well, I took a few days. I had a surge of relief that I didn't have this stress anymore. Then I was obviously what am I going to do? All my money is tied up into this. I was making good money. I have a BMW, brand new BMW M3. I have a motorcycle. I have a penthouse in Charlotte, North Carolina. What am I going to do for money? I have zero money coming in because this job I was making over six figures, which, 12, 13, 14 years ago, that was actually kind of a lot of money in Charlotte, North Carolina. And for a single young man with no family. So that was the next thing. I just debated about what I was going to do. I tried to reach out to people to try to get me other jobs in the industry. I took a trip out to see my uncle in Arizona just to like hang out and connect more with my family because I never really saw my family. I was all alone. My parents lived in Virginia and stuff like that. So yeah, just to bounce around some ideas. I had talents. I was staying positive, and basically after that, I did odd jobs, man. I mean, like, it was hard to hustle. Got back into bartending. I started risky business ventures, flipping motorcycles. I ended up getting into really good shape again. I started doing male stripping and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And how long did you do that for? Like, what actual jobs did you even have to do, like with like the male stripping and all that type of stuff? Did that lead to like something else, or like what happened after?
Yeah, I mean, that just like one thing led to another. I would say I tried to get normal jobs. Like, I really tried to like getting normal sales jobs. I briefly worked for another automotive company, but it was like half the pay and still same amount of stress. Like, went from making $120,000 a year to making like $40,000 or $50,000 a year, still working 70 hours a week. And that just kind of like blew my fuse, and I actually just had another flip out from another employee there. Like, we were about to fight in the automotive shop. And it was just one thing led to another. I got fired from that job as well. And then after that, yeah, I pretty much just went into bartending. I knew a buddy from college, my fraternity. He had a very popular nightclub in Orlando, so I was a bartender and a promoter for that. And then that closed down, and then I was bounced around between a few other jobs like security. And I got into male stripping, like stripper parties, like bachelorette parties in Orlando. And then I worked for Disney World doing the stuntman stuff.
And how did it feel at that time for you? Like, kind of just bouncing around? Like, were you like stable? Were you worried? Like, what was the kind of feelings you were feeling during that time?
I had a mix amount of feelings. I always had confidence in myself that something would pull through. I was healthy. I always had relatively success with women. I just had confidence. I still stayed healthy. I was very fit at the time. Like, I was shredded, ripped, working out, got a lot of attention, a lot of respect from other people, men, women, everything. So I wasn't really too worried about that, but the money was definitely a stress part. And, I was racking up credit card debt, but I was still living very modestly, only buying what I really needed. I didn't really have a drinking problem. I didn't have a drug problem or anything like that. So on the up and up, I was in a good spot, I believe.
Yeah, it's good to hear. And I know you're in a really good spot now, but like, what was like the weird kind of adult film industry stuff that you kind of got into, like maybe in your late 20s?
Yeah, so about that there's a long story and then a kind of condensed story. I'll share the condensed story and then some negatives and positives from that experience. I was messing around with a girl, like dating a girl, and she ended up being in the porn industry, or she did it for like 6 months, she said at the time. And we were messing around, and she ended up turning her computer on, and she's like, let's have some fun. And it ended up being a webcam. And I was like, I've never heard of webcam. Like, I think I saw advertisements and stuff, but I never thought it was like actually a real thing where people pay to watch other people have sex, or chat, or give them money. And we had a lot of fun with that. And I realized, like, hey, this can make money. This, like, we just made like $500 by having sex on a webcam.
So pay to play pretty much.
Yeah. And then I was like the male talent, and people were asking about me. And then all of a sudden I had fans, and I started a Twitter account and all this stuff. And then that kind of fizzled out. Like, she ended up, liking me, and I was like, I couldn't really like take her seriously. I'm like, you're a porn, like, you did porn, like, on camera. Like, I can't respect a real relationship where the girl, had sex on camera. So, kind of just fizzled out, but it was still on the top of my mind. I was stripping, and then eventually I got a call from one of the agents. When you're a male stripper, your profile or your photos are on these websites that have, companies that are the middleman between the bachelorettes, and they search for that. And I was on their websites, and they call me out for jobs, freelance jobs, and I take them or say no, or I'm too busy. But anyways, they contacted me one time. They said, hey, there's a shoot or a company asking about you and a few guys that are strippers to film a TV show out in LA. And I was like, okay. She's like, do you want to give me to give them your information, your contact. I was like, sure, no problem. So I get a phone call asking, and then it eventually got into, hey, this is an adult film company and we have a scene where we need a ripped in shape male stripper with experience to do a shoot for a bachelorette party. And then it ended up being, the sex scene. Okay. Yeah. And they're like, do you have any experience in doing this? I was like, well, kind of. I actually did webcamming with a girl a few times. I haven't done anything else besides that, but I'm pretty confident that I could do it. So long story short, they paid for my trip out to LA. I flew out to LA and did the scene. It was for Reality Kings, called Crazy Asians, Crazy Asian Girlfriends. And it was a bachelorette scene. I did the scene with 4 different girls, had a fun time. I did very well. And the director vouched for me. He's like, you're great. Like, you perform well. And this is actually hard to find men that can do this. So I think I have other work for you. So he connected me with the people in Florida, which ended up being like Reality Kings and Bang Bros. So I did that a few more times as well. So
cool. And how much were you making like from all that stuff?
My rate would have been like $400 to $500, maybe $600 per scene. And if you do 2 a week, you can do the math on that.
Yeah.
Not too much, but it was a day's work, fun. And, as I got built up, I think that it would have been more. So, yeah.
And how long did you do that for? Like a few months?
In Miami, yeah, I did it for a few months and then I got contacted. My scene started coming out and, started getting kind of like popular and stuff, I guess you can say, or kind of like a reputation, hot, white, ripped guy, blonde hair, blue eyes. And then I got contacted by an agent out in LA. And he said, hey, we have scenes for you if you want to work out here like more steadily. Because I was only doing like I said, 1, 2, 3 a week in Miami, in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. And then flew out there and started doing, I worked steadily 4, 5, 6 scenes a week, making, you can do the math on that, $1,200 to $3,000 some weeks out in LA.
And like, what made you even get out of that? Like, what happened that made you like, you were kind of going up in the adult film industry world and then you kind of went out? Like, what happened?
So it's freelance and you don't have steady work, but basically my agent was a little bit of a sketchy guy. He had problems with some of the girls not paying them and he was in like getting sued. And then I had an issue on set. I was basically in Arizona in a car, cold with a girl, and we didn't have much chemistry. And I am not very good at performing and getting hard if there's no chemistry and the girl's not into me. And basically, we were about halfway through. It's cold, and I'm struggling to stay hard through the scene. And I was like, asked the girl, I was like, hey, can you help me out? Like blowjob or something to help me out. And she was like, said something along the lines of, no, that's your problem or something like that. And I completely shut down.
Oh shit.
Like it was over.
Yeah.
And then everything, it was just like the end of the scene. We had to do some weird fake, stuff. Cause they actually had a lot of good footage and I think it just ended there. And then that was, one of them. And then there was a few more times where I actually ended up doing several more that did well. And then I had another girl, that I was not into. She was not into me. And yeah, it was just a struggle to perform. So I had performance anxiety.
Yeah. Maybe just performance unalignment.
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool.
So I guess I got kind of a reputation and, long story short, you get less work based on that if they find out. Yeah. So, that's kind of what happened is performance anxiety. And then my agent was tied up in all this other stuff. So I wasn't getting phone calls like I used to.
Yeah. And then after that, I mean, no more adult film industry. Like what were the next steps for you after that?
Oh, I was just, broke out in LA. I decided to start pursuing acting and stuntman work. I had a background doing the stunts, motorcycles, but I didn't really know much more about how to actually get involved in, being an actor. And there wasn't too much online, for YouTube and stuff. So I, just kind of winged it. I started doing auditions. I got photos done on casting websites and submitting stuff like that. But, to get money, luckily I found out about, well, there was, of course, Uber that had just come out at the time, but I had a little bit of a criminal record and not such a good driving record. And I also didn't have a car there at the time, so I wouldn't get approved for that. But there was something called Postmates, which is like a food delivery, or DoorDash, or same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing that and just working like 15 hours a day, doing it on a bicycle, delivering food in LA on a bicycle. And I actually ended up getting a car and doing it on that as well. But mainly, just doing the gig type work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, during that time, I mean, there's not remote sales. There wasn't that much drop shipping, e-commerce. So, I mean, it is a different time in terms of like the opportunities out there. So, I mean, if someone's watching this right now and they're like kind of going through something that you're kind of going through like back then, like what advice would you give to them?
Advice I would give is to just do self-development, self-improvement, constantly do that, whether it's working out, staying in shape, eating healthy, because that'll keep your mind sharp. I've always had pretty much a sharp mind. And never really had too many low spots besides when I had shoulder surgery a few years ago. But anyways, just keep your body, your health in check, and try to get, network with people as much as you can, maybe find a mentor and stuff like that. Stuff I struggled with. I struggled with finding proper mentors and stuff to guide me along the way. I've always been kind of a lone wolf, I guess you can say.
Because you tried like drop shipping, e-commerce, and a multitude of different online businesses. Like, did they just like not help you, or did you like buy, or like what even happened there?
Yeah, I tried drop shipping. I bought a course and what I thought to be advertised as one-on-one mentorship, and it ended up being a group coaching. And I was like, well, I'm having trouble with my website, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get help by asking a few questions in a group chat. Like, I need you to share my computer screen. And that was one of them. And then I just didn't have too much passion about like trying to find cheap products and try to ship them from China to, America for Americans to buy. I just didn't see too much going in there instead of, and I didn't really have too much more money at the time. I was running out of money and racking up credit card debt. So I kind of threw that in and put that on the back burner. That can always come back. If I actually have a product that I believe in that I want to sell, I can always make a store based on that. But I've tried, online trading. I did all right at that. I mean, I lost some money, but ended up being a break-even trader. But now I'm pretty passionate about just inspiring others and doing one-on-one mentorship for fitness, helping men self-improve and just learn from my mistakes that I've made.
And how can they like reach out to you if they do want that one-on-one help, like Instagram or?
Instagram's a good place. I have a YouTube channel and I have a community on school. So like they can find all that on my Instagram page. It's at Flowmaster Kyle.
Yeah.
You can search Kyle Harper on Instagram. Probably pop up.
Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Kyle, it's been an absolute pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.